to the Indie Wrestling Guy with your hosts, the Hall of Fame referee, JHawk, the not-so-mysterious benefactor, JGold, and the legendary Charly Butters.
So when we're going to start off a little bit on a sad note, this I guess was yesterday at the Mecca during a BCW show. Vince Steele, the Jurassic Juggernaut, had a cardiac event in the ring and unfortunately passed away. And we wanted to just send out our condolences and our deepest sympathies to his family and to the independent wrestling world who this may have affected. Vince Steele was a fixture around the East Coast. And I think we here at the Indie Wrestling Guide, I think we watched some shows with him in it. And, he very young and a very sad moment there at the Mecca. And it is an opportunity to kind of think further about how we can be more prepared in arenas, in the ring, and at venues with CPR and other, life-saving options when we are at these shows, and good on the Ridgefield Park Police and everyone who showed up to try to help him. So our sympathies, and we hope we don't have to see that again. And we just want to put that out there to start the show tonight.
And if you do want to help the family with the funeral expenses, there is a GoFundMe available. Search for support Vincent Steele Rosa's final farewell. They're shooting for a $10,000 goal, and active recording at $3,600 already. So if you can chip in. If not, share the link. Let's help them out best we can.
Yep.
So I was told we had to talk about Dove soap on this episode.
Yeah. What is Patty was very adamant about Dove soap. So I'm going to ask you, what is going on there?
I just bought some new soap. I everybody talks about Dove soap being really good for your skin, and I got some Dove soap, and it smelled really good. It was nice.
Well, that's good.
I'm glad that just a random Tuesday, just talking about it, and she was very interested in this, and just nothing special. Just tried a new soap.
Soap talk on the Indie Wrestling Guide. Yeah. What's everybody's favorite soaps? Leave a message on our Twitter. Heyo.
And I'm sorry, we're talking about a wrestling podcast here. Wrestling fans don't use soap. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm saying, like, most of them don't, at least.
Wait, damn it. That joke was right there, and you guys hit it out. So I wish I got that quicker.
Yeah, between soap and deodorant, I mean, there's just nothing.
Yeah, both of those they struggle with. Oh, my God. Well, shit.
I had a crazy Sunday, though.
Yeah, go ahead. What did you do?
Well, I guess we should talk about our Friday first, because JHawk and I were at NeoPro Remix Volume 1. We had a wonderful time in a very small venue. JHawk got to ref a couple matches.
What was the venue? What was it like in there?
The Vortex. It was just a tiny little room.
Yeah, it's a tiny little music club. They have some local band come in, and yeah, it's not nothing fancy at all. It's definitely lit up like a music club.
Okay.
But I had a good time with our IW guy title match. Mikey Montgomery and Cheeseburger had a hell of a match.
The main event.
I was reffing that match, by the way.
I mean, Mikey's always been easy to work with. Cheeseburger is just great to work with. I really didn't have to work too hard. It was fun.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I wish I've seen Cheeseburger a few times. I saw him at the drive-in for the Real Rumble. He was at Mahoning. I saw him a few times in Ring of Honor, and I'm glad that you guys got a chance to hang out with him. Butters, was he fun? Did you get a chance to kind of shoot the shit with him a bit?
Yeah, we talked some business. He was super easy to talk with about that. So he'll be getting an IW Guide trading card. So that's cool.
Nice. Is he a storyteller, or is he just a regular dude? Because he was
watching a lot of Japanese wrestling on his phone. Like, he was very into what was going on over in Japan while he was there. Like, he was watching clips and like focused on that pretty heavy. So,
damn, that's cool. I wouldn't have seen that coming like at the show. That's cool.
A lot of people went up to him and talked to him and stuff like that. So like, he was definitely, giving some advice to everybody. And
Yeah, he did watch some of the matches and gave some guys some pointers. So
What school does he run?
it's the Worldwide Dojo
Nice. Okay.
in Bristol, PA.
Nice.
Yeah, he had students with him. I didn't have anywhere to put him on the card, but definitely he's definitely a future booking, and have him bring some students and put them on, and let's see what they can do. So
That's fun. I wonder if you pay for the carload of him and the students.
that's what we kind of talked about, is that might be a future thing, is where you pay for a cheeseburger and a carload, and might be good. So
Interesting.
but then Sunday, my buddy Rick, my boss, had Thunder Rosa do a signing at his new shop, Monsters in the Toy Box.
Cool.
So that was
I
fun.
forgot about that.
Got to hang out with Stacy and Pam and a bunch of our friends.
What does he have at that shop? What's the difference between that one and Time Capsule?
Not much. I mean, it's toys. Just different stuff. Just
And she
a
was
little bit.
cool?
Oh, she was super cool. She was telling us stories, and she was very cool, very personable. I sold all the figures that I had been hoarding for that. I sold every single one. Made like almost $400. I was very happy.
Nice. Wow.
A nice return on my investment.
Nice.
Definitely worthwhile. Very happy with that. I mean, everybody ate up the chases that I bought, so those went first, and then everything else went. So I was really happy.
What does she do for a signing? Does she get the whole signing? Like, does she split it with the store? Like, how does that work?
The way that the signings work with her was like there was a fee paid up front, and then everything that was made at the signing Rick keeps. So
Oh, fuck. Okay, that makes sense.
he took us all out to eat afterwards too, which was nice. We went to Sunrise in Warren, and I had some Sunrise suckers, which was like barbecue, Cajun, and
What the hell's that?
they're
Suckers.
wings. But the sauce is called Sunrise Suckers. It's Cajun barbecue and garlic mixed together. It's really good.
Oh, that's not bad at all. I like
It was
that.
kind of sweet. It was really good. Everybody had a good time. We swapped stories and had a bunch of big laughs, and it was a real nice evening. So
She came with you guys?
no, they actually went to Cockeyes Barbecue. They wanted to get some ice cream and some barbecue. So, but
Does she come in with anybody? Is she coming with anybody from AEW, or is she by herself? How does that work?
She was with somebody. I don't know who exactly the person was. I think I was told that it was her boyfriend or something. So,
Makes sense.
but he was really nice. We chatted. We were talking about like the Lucha Underground rights and like different stuff like that, streaming rights to different stuff. And he's like in that industry, so like he was telling me all about that, and so it was really interesting.
Oh, that's cool.
And then the shop next door to Rick's shop is a tattoo parlor, and they were doing flash sales for the Thunder Rosa signing. So I went over and I got the Goosebumps G on my wrist.
Flash sale. Getting a tattoo on a flash sale out of nowhere. That's
Yeah.
good.
So I jokingly told Rick that they should do the Goosebumps G because it's small. It could be a piece of flash basically. And he's like, yeah, that's a good idea. So he told them that, and then he got it. And I was like, you motherfucker. Like, that's what I was going to get. So I was like, well, if you got it, I got to fucking get it now because I fucking said that that's what they should do.
That's cool.
So I went over and got it. It was like $30. And obviously I tipped her, for it. So, but I got to go back and get it colored in a couple weeks because my skin just wasn't accepting the green after like the initial outline. My skin was all puffy and just bleeding. So she's like,
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
we'll have to go back over it in a couple weeks. I was like, all right, that's fine.
You have more than that? Is that your only one?
No, I got my neck and my arm, but
Aha.
this is the most recent one. This is like the first one I've gotten in like 15 years.
That's fun. I got to get another one.
I got one just because like my grandma was like a big force in me reading stuff. So like and Goosebumps was my favorite thing as a kid, like reading those. So like it just kind of was like a tribute kind of tattoo on top of like just something different. So
That's cool. Well, so by the way, as of next Saturday, I will be the new head coach of a fourth grade girls flag football team. So, so Harper played her final basketball game of the season on Saturday. They won, but they finished third in the league out of 4 teams, which is fine. But this Saturday, I signed up and passed the background checks. I will be the new head coach of. They didn't give me my team name yet, of the girls flag football game. So if anybody has plays they want to run, it's 7-on-7. I could use any help writing shit down and getting ready for a flag football season.
So we're gonna call you the new coach instead of Porter O'Shea. You're
That's
coach
right.
now.
I am Coach
Fuck
JGold.
you, Porter. You're not the coach no more.
Right, you're just Jim. That's it. That's the end of you.
Using shoot names.
Hey, Faye, motherfucker.
That's right.
Getting that dunk tank, bitch.
Well, what do we got? Shout outs.
Zach, Andrew, and of course, Patty.
Hey, Patty. Dove soap, huh? I like the Old Spice high endurance pumped in like a loofah soap. If I'm going to use body soap, but
You're a loofah man.
I am.
I was a loofah man for a while, but I prefer the bar soap. It just I feel like it gets me cleaner. My
problem's always been I forgot which comedian did the joke. It was Kings of Comedy. I think it was D.L. Hughley, where he talked about if you use regular soap in like a washcloth, you're washing your body and then you're using the same bar to wash with that you wash your ass to wash your face. So I always use a loofah on my body, and then I have a separate face soap, so I don't have to wash my face with the same soap that's been on my ass. You know what I mean?
Dude, you're not jamming the bar of soap in your asshole.
Some people
Jesus
do.
Christ.
I don't know. Listen.
No, some people do not. Nobody jams the bar of soap in their asshole. Like,
I'm just saying. Just trying to stay away
from it. Could be somebody fetish. You don't know.
You guys are fucking broken people. You know.
Well, what's on, JHawk?
What's on this weekend? Just talk about actual wrestling instead of fucking weird fetishes that JHawk's into.
What's on this weekend?
Yeah, over on the Triller TV side of thing, Future Stars Wrestling out of Las Vegas will present Mecca 10, the benefit for Bay. Their benefit for Chris Bay, who suffered a broken neck back in October and been out of action since. Looking at star-studded lineup, we got wrestlers coming in from New Japan, AAA, TNA, AEW, and WWE. The lineup I have it active right now: Kenny King against Swerve Strickland, Hammerstone against Karrion Kross, three-way match: John Morrison versus Leo Rush versus Ace Austin, Brian Cage against Rich Swann, and a scramble match: TJP, Frankie Kazarian, Gregory Sharp, Danny Limelight, and WWE ID superstar Ice Williams. And that is listed on Triller's site as being 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on Friday night.
All right, over on the IWTV side, Focus Pro presents Make 'em Say from the Widowmaker Brewery in Braintree, Massachusetts. We got BRG versus Griffin McCoy, Top Guy time. Diego Alvarez versus Mike Skyros. Brian Bayside versus Vinny Pacifico. Kaya McKenna versus Gabby Forza. Dante Drago versus Mike Grassa. Brian Clancy versus Andy Brown. The Focus Pro Tag Team Championship, Hard Work Heroes versus Postgame. And then the Focus Pro Championship, Manny Arias, the champion, versus TJ Crawford. That's all on Saturday night, 8 p.m., only on the Independent Wrestling Television Network.
Interviewing.
All right, this week we are joined by the legendary Wilbur Whitlock.
Legendary. I'll take it. I'll take it from you, Butters. Thank you. Thank you all so much for having me this week. I appreciate it, guys.
You don't have to take anything from Butters. Trust me. Just go with it.
I'll take any compliment I can get from Butters, and then Legendary, I'll take that one from anybody. So
nice.
Thank you guys so much for having me on, man. I'm really excited.
Well, this is cool for me because it's not too often we get somebody on the show that's been around longer than I have.
That's true.
Just barely. Not
just barely. Yeah, so I'll tell the story here. I kind of teased it last week. The first time I met Wilbur, I was writing for a website back in the day called thesmartmarks.com. Wilbur was starting to work for a company called UWC, which ran out of Stowe, Hudson, Akron, like that general area. They were getting ready to do weekly TV tapings. Wilbur emailed me about a week before their first TV taping and go, "Hey, I saw that you did a review for this show a couple months ago. Are you going to be going to these TV tapings?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Well, come find me, introduce yourself." And I wasn't even in the business yet.
No, sir. But, and this was back in, early 2003. So
Wow.
like any 18-year-old mark for himself, of course, I'm Googling myself. I don't even know if Google was like a thing at that point. Might have been Yahooing or Ask Jeevesing myself and just trying to find any information about me on the internet. Even back in '03, I'm worried about people, maybe talking shit about me on the internet. But no, I seen JHawk's article from, I believe it was the April Ambush show, if I'm not
Correct.
The MCW show. He reviewed that one, and I was like, well, okay, this guy has, a pretty successful internet review site, and he's obviously local. So yeah, I'm out there moving and hustling even back then. Like, hey, come to these shows, and yeah, so you were attending the UWC shows. Those were the ones at the legendary Shamrock Motel and bar.
Yeah, that's the first company that ran at the Shamrock before RAPW got in there back in the day. But
yeah, absolutely. So I again was able to find an internet reviewer, and I guess channeling my inner Eddie Gilbert, where I'm like, I'm gonna cozy up to the dirt sheet guys and make them my butt. Have them talk good on the internet. See,
what a mistake! You met JHawk. Oh boy.
Well, in all honesty, JGold, that's how I got into the business because, because my trainer wound up basically trying to do the same thing. Oh, you write for a website. If I book you, you can write about our show. He wanted me to do review. And I'm like, I can't do reviews. That's conflict of interest. I'll plug the shit out of this. But I can't do review.
Yeah.
That's actually not a bad idea. That's actually crazy that the promoter is asking you to write about a show that you're working. You could use a pseudonym,
Yeah, but at that point, that's why everybody called me JHawk, because I was JHawk on the website.
Aha! Damn.
Now, those were good times, though. Me and my buddy Big John, and sometimes my brother would go with us. We would get at the one table at the Shamrock, and then when the heel section at TNA was a big thing, we brought a kind of a heel table and just put it on the table, and we cheered for all the heels, just to be dick.
Ahead of your time.
The fun thing is about those shows, though, were all the dark matches after, because you had to film the TV. We had to kind of walk the straight and narrow as any TV tapings would be. You stuck to your times, got over what you needed to get over. But then, and so really there'd only be maybe 4 to 5 matches for the TV, and they'd be shorter matches. The dark matches was where we all got to play, and there was some ridiculous bullshit that happened in the dark matches after the TV tapings ended. JL probably has more stories of those than I do, but I know that I competed one time in a pair of basically biker shorts and a hood and nothing else, no pads, no nothing, because I just didn't want to be Wilbur out there again. I didn't have anything else, but they needed somebody to fill a triple threat match. And I'm pretty sure we did like a Las Vegas line dancing thing. It was atrocious, but great live entertainment for the fine folks in Barberton.
I had that one guy that was fresh out of training. They teamed him with you for a while. He was supposed to be your cousin Cooter.
Oh yeah, Mike Dirty the Clown, yeah, cousin Cooter. That was, and that was, so I kind of jested about that, but for real, it was a great opportunity. Dark matches still to this day, great opportunities to get those young guys, those guys on the show that probably aren't ready for your main show, probably not ready to advertise them yet. But hey, let's get them out there in front of a live crowd, sink or swim, and with really not really any real repercussions. Again, it's a dark match. No tickets were sold. I don't know if any tickets were sold, period, for those shows. But for the dark matches, so really no harm done if something doesn't work. So yeah, and that's when we get into it. My trainer, we'd send up some trainees. We would set up the ring and everything and get a little bit of ring time at the end of the night.
Yeah, we really should have known how Shoke at the Shamrock were going to go when the ring broke the first freaking taping before they started taping. First dark match, the ring fucking broke.
Very first match of the very first taping got put together kind of hodgepodge and then broke again.
Where were they shown, by the way? What channel was this aired on?
That was it was the Cat. Look at 29 out of Akron, Canton.
I'd see we had mostly Time Warner cable down in Canton, so it was different. We didn't get that access channel. You had to have like Maslin cable or something. I was never. I had to have somebody tape it, which of course I did because I was an 18-year-old mark for myself, so I was going to watch myself on TV.
Yeah, it was over the air in that area. I want to say with channel 29, but yeah, you could get it on your like public access cable. I was in war, and all of a sudden, our public access channel would start to show them like a week later somehow.
Gotcha.
To this day, Potok had no idea how they started showing out my way. He had no clue.
you figure he'd be the one in control of that.
Yeah, like, I didn't get the tape out there. I don't know how they got there. Somebody obviously was taping it off of Channel 29 and handing it to the cable station.
But yeah, so there's the story. It's a true story. Me and JHawk met at the bar, which was linked to a less than up and up motel nearby, and we turned into the fine adults that we are now. So
yeah, the Less Than Stellar Hotel next to the Less Than Stellar Strip Club, all owned by the same guy.
And no surprise at all, it got raised. Not what about that?
No strip clubs are less than stellar. They're all stellar to me, Jayhawk.
You did not go into the strip club, JGold. I'm just going to say that.
You have no idea the dregs of society that I have been involved in upstate New York, my friend. It is even better than that.
Jared, I feel like we need a Shamrock shirt. Just from all the people we've had on that talk about the Shamrock. I think we need like a Shamrock and Barberton shirt. Something like that. We need to come up with something.
We had an OCW show at Barberton High School just a couple weeks ago, and I'm hurt. I did a promo, just a hey, Barberton, Ohio has been a great place for me. I've wrestled tons of times here, and I mentioned, and I got to cut my teeth at the Shamrock Bar and Motel, and I said, kids, the less you know about that place, the better. And adults in the crowd, they're like, yep, he's absolutely right.
Yeah, but for a while, anybody that became anybody in the area went through that bar at least once. So
sure did. There's a ton came through that bar.
I mean, JT was wrestling there for a while and brought his students in, and look where some of those guys are now. So
we got the artist formerly known as the PC Lover, the Duke, was a mainstay there for a little while. But and the thing about it was a Tuesday night, so like we're kind of joking about it. It wasn't ever the most serious show, but at the same time, Tuesday nights, where else are you going to go on a Tuesday night to get some ring time? And that was essential for a lot of us. And I was actually up at the Akron show to see Rick versus Potok, and I thanked them both. I really did. I was like, hey, I got a chance to wrestle a lot for you guys, and who knows how it did or didn't shape me, but I'm happy with where I am and what I've done. So absolutely thank them for the opportunity for the ring time. And it's critical when you're at any point in time, but especially when you're really young, cutting your teeth on a Tuesday night. Go out there and wrestle in front of 20 drunk guys and JHawk slamming his Mike's Hard Lemonade, and go have a good time.
So if I jump real quick on JHawk, where did you train? What was your beginnings there?
All right, so I trained in Mansfield, Ohio, which is outside of Canton, Ohio. My trainer was a gentleman by the name of Kevin Ballou, and he wrestled as Shasta McNasty. And he was a migrant from Georgia, of all places. He's from Athens, Georgia. Came up with good friends till the day he passed with BG James, friends with Brian Lawler, Grandmaster Sexay. AJ Styles was a good friend of his. I've seen a match from NWA Wildside with him and AJ Styles. So I had never heard of him or heard of the school. I had a buddy of mine that we used to do backyard with, because of course we did. And we were the two guys that took it seriously. We were the two guys that wanted to have the work rate matches, in the ECW era. So he was the one that got me hip to the school, and it was in the back of a pool hall in Massillon, Ohio, and it shared a backspace with this tool crib and this old man that got cranky as hell when we'd be in there taking bumps and he'd be trying to conduct business on the phone. But we, in that era, he was running, again, as we talk about, ring time was just so critical. He was running a lot. He ran bi-weekly at a nightclub called BB McLean's, which is now the Diamond Royale in Canton, Ohio, which ironically as hell is the next NeoPro show's location. Then he run bi-weekly shows there, bi-weekly shows at a bar in Alliance, Ohio called Mangoes, and then would still run the quote-unquote house shows usually once a month at high schools, armories, etc. So, we were getting 5-6 shows a month just with one promotion, just with that home promotion. And, that was key. And he had, again, it's kind of a lost in time sort of promotion, but he had, young Chris Hero would come in. He would have young Nigel McGuinness, and Cody Hawk would come in frequently. A lot of the good Cleveland guys from back in that day, Chris Cole and Arrow, Gabe Knight, and then a lot of the good middle Ohio guys, which JHawk's familiar with all these guys. Mr. Insanity Toby Klein, Brain Damaged, Deranged and Crazy, Jeff Cannon, like, he had guys kind of coming in that weren't the normal JT guys in that era. This is, the early 2000s. So it was real good, eclectic group of talent. And then he started training his own talent, which me and Jessica Havoc are pretty much the last two remaining of his trainees. But it was a really good group of guys that trained under Shasta.
Has a lot of names there. Wow.
And it was, and it's a shame. It was actually asked to me if any of this stuff has been. I mean, he unfortunately passed away a few years ago. There might be tapes somewhere, but I know it never got archived properly on DVDs or on a drive of any sort, and it's a shame. I mean, it wouldn't be great quality, of course, but it was just, again, kind of a place that you had to be there, and that's why our great friend Pedro and I, he used to attend all these shows as a fan, and so he shares his pictures, and he, tells me stories about my matches from back then, because this was way before I ever got to meet him. Whereas again, it's a lost in time sort of thing, and it was a really fun time. Kind of had to be there, sort of era coming up in the independents.
Yeah, it can seem to me though, like Shasta was able to get the pivot gunner for some of these shows.
Yeah, sorry, Butters, go ahead. I'll let you.
I was going to tell JGold that, he kind of like perked up when he heard Mr. Insanity, Toby Klein. And it's really interesting to see him pop up at NeoPro shows, because I don't think some people realize who he is. But like when I first saw him, I knew who he was, because when I first got into indie wrestling, it was because of CZW and like IWA Mid-South deathmatch stuff. Mm-hmm. So I know who he is. Like, he's a deathmatch legend to me.
He's a legend.
And like seeing him sit and like, he was just sitting in the back, sitting in this back row of these chairs, just sitting there by himself. And I just like nodded at him and he nodded back at me, and it just blew my mind. And then like a little bit later, we were watching the main event and I was sitting at the monitor with Danny and Jason, and I looked behind me and there's Toby Klein and Sami Callihan standing there watching the main event with us. And I'm just like, my life is so fucking weird right now. Like, I've watched these guys on since I was, a teenager, and now they're standing behind me watching this on a monitor right here with me. Like, it's the crazy. I love wrestling so much because of that. So,
and that, man, and I know we'll talk about it later, but that is something that will never be lost on me. It really is, and it's something that I want to be a Toby Klein to a young guy coming up the way Toby Klein is to me. Like, I really do, because it's not lost on me at all that he comes into this last NeoPro show completely unannounced, just to hang out, walks up, hey man, and we just start talking about the guys in the ring, just start talking about the matches. And like, it is not lost on me that the same thing, I was like, this is a king of the death match. Like, this is a legend. Like, and he's just like, and he conferring with me about talking wrestling. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's never lost on me how cool that is. We're going to share some fun stories. So if I can, I'll throw in a good Toby Klein story. I told this one to Pedro. So I was, so Toby used to, and I won't name names because it's not necessarily the nicest thing, but he used to Photoshop a certain lady into the most absurd things you've ever seen. Like, and he basically was like a 12-year-old kid playing with Photoshop for the first time, like taking the post from Facebook, like talking about making a bean soup for dinner with like this person floating on a giant bean. And he would just send them to me all the time, like, because it popped me, right? And so again, just indie wrestling being indie wrestling. JHawk will know where this is at. The Cuyahoga Falls Giant Eagle has a bar where you can get a beer and you can go grocery shopping, right? So me and Patrick Hayes are grocery shopping for a Royal Rumble party while drinking beer in the aisleway, and I get one of these texts from Toby, and I open it up and I just start laughing my ass off, and he's like, well, what's going on? And I show him, and I was like, and he goes, king of the death match, fucking sending you weird Photoshop texts while we're drinking beer grocery shopping. What the fuck is our life? And I'm like, exactly, man. Like, I'm just rolling, like sitting here drinking beer in the grocery store with my best friend that beats the shit out of me all the time, with the king of the death match sending me weird Photoshop memes. And it's like, this is a normal day. This is a normal Saturday night.
Were you a deathmatch guy, or do you like them? What's your opinion on that?
So again, coming up with Shasta, this was, it was an interesting era. It was 2003, so we're fresh out of like the ECW. It just happened. It's still pretty relevant in everybody's mind. XPW is around. So being young and all that, yeah, I loved it then. I loved the extreme, quote unquote, extreme style. And what Shasta's style was the triple extreme, which is the next NeoPro show, was, pretty much all the matches kind of having no DQ. Some would be amplified more, barbed wire, and everything like that. And so growing up on that, loved it. And he brought that with like Southern wrestling because he grew up on Continental and Georgia Championship Wrestling. So it was a mix of old school plus like ECW, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. So I did a lot of that stuff earlier on in my career. Still don't mess with glass. Glass terrifies me. But
so you're not okay. Yeah, glass is a big one. Yeah.
Glass terrifies me this day. So much can go wrong with glass. But doing a lot of all the other hardcore stuff, absolutely big fan of it. Now as I've gotten a little bit older, I still absolutely see its place and have all the respect in the world for the dudes that love doing it, and I'm good friends with a lot of them. For me, it's one of those things I'll still more than willing to have one of those sort of matches, but it has to have a really good story going in, and it has to have a lot of build and a lot of heat and have some meat on the bone to make that stuff matter for me these days. But still appreciate it. Appreciate all the guys that do it and have sacrificed their bodies for it, man. I mean, there's no other way to say it. They watching Toby throw a VCR from the ring to Necro Butcher on the floor right into his head, and then sitting there.
It's one of the best clips I've heard.
and I'm sitting at a Mexican restaurant one night, basically in between them, drinking margaritas and eating enchiladas, and it's again, what the fuck is my life? How are you two friends?
But I mean, like it's the most viewed and streamed form of wrestling on IWTV. I mean, the amount of ghouls that watch death matches it is just wild. How they don't go into these. I love ICW No Holds Barred, and I'm a big fan of the chains. But to have an entire card where you're just kind of throwing guys together with no story, I don't know. I always wondered if it would catch up to like the streams, and apparently not. People just love it.
Yeah, it's car crash TV, and it is, and that's, well, as you mentioned, no story. So that could be one of those things I can tell you guys, or we can all know of a great match in New Japan that had a year-long build, and it's a 5-star match, and it's going to be a 30-minute classic. Okay, great, but did we catch that year's worth of build, and we see that story develop, and why they're here, and why it's important? Probably not. But if you say, oh my, there's this insane death match, Necro Butcher versus Samoa Joe, or Necro Butcher versus Toby, or any of these matches, this is you can sit down, you can put this on, you can watch it, and you can just absolutely enjoy the car crash for what it is. And you don't need to know the story going in, and you don't need to know the story going forward. You just know that you were entertained for that clip of time that you're in. And somehow, some way, they seem to keep one-upping the game on the things that they're doing, which is wild, because the stuff that we're talking about is near 25 years ago, doing some death match, some of these death match spots, and they're still up in the game and having new innovations in these death matches where it's a talent in itself. It really is. How to keep the crowd entertained, as you say, it's the most streamed things on IWTV. So they have to be providing something to have them coming back.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
God bless anybody who wants to do it. I don't even like reffing them. I can't imagine actually putting myself through this shit.
I think it ended for me when Sexy Eddie was pumping the blood out of his arm into his mouth. I think that was what topped it for me. Like that
would be the line. That would be the line for Wilbur. No, thank you. I think I'd be out on that one.
We talk about Toby. Toby might be the weirdest person ever getting an NBA world title shot too.
that was
April Ambush.
Yeah, it was April Ambush, which followed. And again, if anybody wants to go on Pedro's Facebook, he shared some pictures from that show. And there's one of Shasta, who was every bit of 350 pounds, hitting a Rikishi driver / Shasta driver off of a ladder onto my dear friend Shane Sensation, who's still around to tell the story, through 2 tables on the floor. So he has this midair picture of this shot, and it's incredible. That was the semi-main. So Jeff Jarrett and Toby have to go out there for a main event after that, and it's just like, well, what the fuck are we going to do?
I think they played that well. We're not going to top it. Let's go 5 minutes and get the hell out of here.
That was pretty much it. And honestly, in my brain, I was just like, oh, that's really disappointing for Toby. Oh, man, they should have had a longer, better match. But being smart now, what else are you going to do? And the crowd ready for it. We've seen Jeff Jarrett. Here's a wrestling match. take it home, and you got your money's worth that night.
Yeah, man, we've already seen Dick go inferno on David Flair that night. Like, what can Jeff Jarrett possibly bring to top that party?
Wait, so you're naming these cards. What is the wildest card that you have been on? Would you say? And I don't mean now. I mean back then. Like looking at everyone that was on it. What's the wildest card that you're like, holy shit! Look at all these dudes that are now or that were and are now legends. You know.
This is part of it that is perspective for me. That, and I'm not at all complaining, but I am just saying like why my vision of independent wrestling was skewed for quite some time. I started training in August of 2002. In September of 2002, they did their first show at the Canton Civic Center, the first real big show. And it definitely ran over time because they're supposed to be separate matches. The main event was supposed to be Dusty Rhodes versus Jerry Lawler. Ended up getting paired off with Dusty teaming with the Road Warriors against Lawler. It was Jay Pumper and Spellbinder, Harry Del Rios, who all worked in Memphis a bunch. So that was the six-man main event. But also on that show was Sabu and Toby, and it was one of either Toby or Sabu's friends. His name was Yukon Brax. They did a triple threat cage match. There was New Jack versus Brain Damage, and I was working security, and everywhere they went in the crowd, there was literal pools of blood left behind.
Gross.
AJ Styles wrestled Shane Sensation on that card. Yeah, and there was more. Oh, Grandmaster Sexay came in and worked with Shasta on that card. And so again, I've only been training for a month, mind you, and like this was obviously had months and months and months and months and months of preparation into this show. But that was like maybe the fourth or fifth show that I'd even done security set up for. So in my mind, well, this is independent wrestling. This is what I do now. Like these are my guys. This is what I'm with. This is what I'm with. And even then, the April Ambush show that JHawk has mentioned, that had to have been my fourth or fifth match. And so like, okay, here I am. I'm at the Civic Center in front of probably 1,500 people. Like, yep, this is what I do. This is independent wrestling. This is great. And and then you get the harsh reality. Like, no, independent wrestling is the Shamrock on a Tuesday in front of 20 people. And I wish I knew then what I know now of like, appreciate all of that. Appreciate the ring time. Appreciate getting yourself over in front of those 20 the same way you did instead of those 1,500. I wish I had that perspective at 18 years old. I didn't. So, like, I don't want to do this. I want to wrestle at the Civic Center every fucking time, So that was my perspective coming in of independent wrestling, that Kevin put on just these huge shows that people weren't doing. I mean, there were some good shows, the Green Hornet shows that I'm sure JHawk has gone to before. Like, they bring in the legends. Bushwhacker Luke would always be in. You'd always have a Doink the Clown on the show. So you'd have, like, some of that stuff for the kids, but to actually have, like, Dusty versus Jerry Lawler is not a match that you just get in your hometown, and that was really cool. It was really cool to be a part of. So that was probably the wildest one.
What's your wildest as far as when you were a younger talent? As far as big name, who was the biggest you wrestled?
The first big name that I wrestled was the Honky-Tonk Man, and I was probably 23, 24.
Wow.
I was born in 84, so. Again, one of my lessons that I'm going to be talking about as we continue is, man, don't ever take these moments for granted. Just don't live in that moment, at least for a little bit. Because as people, we always, and especially as wrestlers, we always look to what's next. Yeah, we're excited for that show. It's a big show, but then like, what do I got next week, or where can I get into next week? But yeah, so the Honky-Tonk Man was probably the first big name that I wrestled, and we did the whole gimmick with the guitar and everything like that. I got my head smashed with the guitar. I wrestled Brutus Beefcake. We called everything in the ring, and he was drunk off of his ass. So I'm like, I have no idea what he's saying. But
did Honky-Tonk Man bump when he gave you Shake, Rattle, and Roll?
He didn't give me Shake, Rattle, and Roll. He gave me the guitar, and he took one bump, and so he shot me off, gave me a back elbow, and I'm in there with the Honky-Tonk Man, so I bumped like Bret Hart 88, man. I'm and I get the same bump, and I give him a back elbow, and he kind of goes down to both knees, and does the fall down, and so I was like, I couldn't even get one bump out of him. But he was great. Honky was actually great. Honky was teaching me some stuff along the way. Here's a good Honky story. So I had this was for a company called Main Event World League, and I had their secondary championship. It's called the North American Championship. And I'm working with the Honky-Tonk Man, and and he's telling me all the time, now, brother, if it wasn't for the internet, if it wasn't for that damn internet, I'd put you over. Hey, I put over young guys all the time. But you see, Honky's going to put over Wilbur tonight. Well, then, hey, who says they're going to book Honky? Because now Honky's losing to Wilbur, so Honky might be able to work with this guy next week because he lost his value. So if it wasn't for that internet, brother, I swear, I had no problem. I'll no problem doing the favor for you. And I'm just like, I don't care. I'm in there with a Honky-Tonk Man. I don't give a shit. But we have to figure out how, what we can do to have him beat me and not win the belt because he's not coming back. So I kind of suggest like a schmoz, hey, can we do something where we bump the ref, da-da-da-da-da. You hit me with the guitar. The second ref comes out, does the no, no, no. And he tells us, is what his name's like, well, here's the thing, brother. Why are we going to put the heat on the referees? And if I come back next month and it's me and you versus the two refs, well, now we got something. but hey, we ain't going to put them heat on them referees. And then he basically booked the same finish anyway. He hit me with the guitar. I brought the guitar in, went for the boom. He gives me the shot, grabs the guitar, hits me right in front of the referee. The referee had to DQ him. And he said, he got on the microphone. He said, title or no title, I wanted to hit that son of a bitch with the guitar tonight. And of course the crowd popped and it worked. So he basically did the same thing. Hit me with the guitar, says, I don't give a fuck. But yeah, and the match before us was a tag match, and we heard the ring doing the boom, boom, boom. It was a high action tag match, and he goes, "Now listen, you hear that? They're doing all the bumping. We ain't got to do that tonight." And I said, "Yes, sir. You got it."
Oh my! I love it when the guy. I love it when you get the name in the back that they don't want to bump. Remember that Dropkick show? They brought Dreamer and Rhino in.
Yeah, absolutely. I worked out.
You're in that. You're in the heel kind of that kick man.
Yeah.
We're going in the back. We're going over the match in the back, and Rhino's like, "I'm not bumping tonight. I'm not bumping tonight." Like right before they did the one brand split,
yeah.
Dreamer's working at WWE backstage, going, they're bringing in like this guy from NXT to the main roster at the draft. And Rhino go, hell, maybe one bump.
I think he says like, "You want to be in NXT all your life, kid?" And he goes, "All right, I'll take him."
So Honky-Tonk Man talks about himself in the third person like that when he's talking to you. I love that. I just think that's my favorite thing.
When describing, like, from the outside looking in, like, if the Honky-Tonk Man loses tonight, well, then the Honky-Tonk Man has less value on the bookings. Yeah, he absolutely.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, because the Mule Show got a lot of visibility on the internet.
I can't tell you how much I love that. I just love that shit. I love that.
But I mean, he was so cool, and that's one of those things I didn't take with me they're doing all the bumping because I'm still going to go out there and bump if I'm going to be bump. But you learned a lot, like him saying about putting the heat on the referees. It's like, well, there is something there, and he just explained it, and that was one of the very first guys. Like, and you hear this from all the old guys telling all the young guys, well, slow it down. If you think you're going too slow down a little more. But he was right. Like he just said, take off your wrist tape. Give me a good choke on the ropes. They're going to boo. They're going to boo. They're going to boo. The ref's going to yell at you. And I was like, take off the other wrist tape. It's like, take off the other wrist tape. Okay, all right. So it's a good feeling when you're in there with somebody. And I'll say this not because I worked with them and because I had a great experience. I thought the Honky-Tonk Man was awesome. I really do. Like I'll go back and watch old Saturday Night's Main Events now.
Yes.
Just to appreciate he's working with Macho Man, and he hits one bump, and he just does for your listeners at home, doing the honky shake right at Liz, and it's just like, God, that's how you work. That's heat, man. Like, why do more? Why go after? Why kick him? Why hit him? Like, you're getting the reaction by doing a little shake to Miss Elizabeth. Yeah, do that. So I've always been a fan of Honky.
You're working mule with Honky-Tonk Man. I'm working with Kamala Jr. That's something's not right there. But
you missed the boat. You missed.
I did.
You missed the mule boat.
Why do I always hear Bushwhacker Luke doing all these shows? Whatever happened to Butch? Why doesn't he do any shows? Did he get injured or was he?
Butch is dead.
No, but I mean prior. All those years ago, it was always Luke. I never saw Butch on shows.
Was he in lesser health than Luke all those years? I couldn't tell you. I don't know for a fact.
He was in bad health. He was in bad health later in his life. When I was going to independent shows a lot before I got into business in the late '90s, the Bushwhackers were on all kinds of shows I went to. So
I remember having a Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine in 1980. I think it was 82 or 83, and it had them as what were they? The Sheep Herders.
Yeah.
And I just remember watching them, and every picture in pro wrestling, and it was them bloodied up, beyond bloody, coming out with chains around their necks, and it was them, and the pages were them, the Moondogs, and a couple others, and those guys, when they came to WWF at the time, I remember seeing them, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I was like, this isn't in my magazine.
But think about it though. How many years did they add to their career by going to the WWF
tons.
And doing the comedy shit?
Yes, and it kept their and Luke was able. I forgot who we were talking to, Butters. I don't know if you were there, but when we were at an AIW show, this was a few years ago, and someone was like, "All I want to do is get that run where I get that gimmick that you can take with you for the rest of your life. Like you can use it at every convention." Like you never have to worry. Like that's what happened to the Bushwhackers. They could be those two idiots everywhere they wanted to be forever after that. Honky too. Never had to do anything else. Can always be that ever. So there's just something to be said about that, like longevity of that.
The thing about Honky, he always a heel. Like I went to Steel City Con when he was there and took my daughter up to meet him, and Honky going, "You're not going to like me for saying this, but you kids shouldn't get summers off anymore. You should go be on school year round." My daughter was like 10 at the time. Rating about summer vacation. Like fucking Honky's great. I love Honky.
That's amazing. These guys. So your first one was against him. Do you have? I mean, your career span now almost 20.
You were 22 years now. Yeah.
So what's the most memorable as far as your matches? What do you go back and like? I mean, even if you're just talking to friends who are like, so
Sure.
what would you think is your most memorable match?
The most memorable, and I have so many, but the most memorable had to be NeoPro 1, and man, I wish you guys were there for that. That was kind of, Canton's been my hometown for many, many years, and we just never really had anything sustained in Canton proper. It was kind of all of our outside towns in this area that, we could usually draw houses. But I got to team with Shane Douglas, and we had the main event against Patrick Hayes and Jimmy Shane, and we did the street fight, the extreme street fight, and everything like that. And but teaming with the franchise, this is one of those things that, again, don't let the moments be lost on you. When we were in the backyard on a trampoline, I pushed really, really hard for me and my buddy to be the franchise players and come out to Perfect Strangers and everything like that. I wanted to be with the franchise. And here I was teaming with the franchise because I was just a huge fan of his ECW run, both before he went, to Dean Douglas and then after as well. Just a huge fan of the franchise. And then
I think everybody at one point liked Shane Douglas because just everybody that I talked to, we all have that moment or a couple moments where like Shane Douglas was just our guy. And the fact that lives in the area and is able to come do things, it's so cool to be able to get to, see him and even in his later years do stuff. It's very, very cool.
If you're around this Pittsburgh, West Virginia, I mean, I know, of course, going out to Philly, going out east with you, JGold, you can catch Shane Douglas on one of your shows. It's not that hard to find him. That doesn't make it any to have him on the show because he's a dude's dude. He'll always make time for you. He'll always give you advice. He'll always, talk about Shawn Michaels being a dickhead too, but he will always give you the time of day and talk shop with you. And what was great about working with Shane was on that first show, you could tell, and we had a good house and they were really into everything we did. But you could still tell he was kind of just testing the waters. We teamed up again the next year, did a similar match, a street fight sort of deal. And we actually had Hack Sandman come in for that. And I'll just go behind the curtain a little bit. They were coming from another show, so they were running a little bit late. So I'm kind of, agenting this match before they even get there. And I'm like, okay, so Shane's bringing his girl manager. The heel team had their manager. So it's like, hey, let's have got to finish 1-2 interference. The girl's in. ECW cat fight, have them go. Now boom, the heels are up. It's what are we going to do? The heels are out, and then we're about to cream Shane with the cane. Boom, cue up Enter Sandman. Here comes Hack. So I'm coming up with this. I tell Shane and Sandman that when they get there, and Hack's like, "Well, it sounds like you know what the fuck you're doing." And I'm like, "I just watched you guys. I just watched your stuff for years. It's not that hard." But Shane and I teamed up that night, and you could tell Shane now being more familiar with NeoPro, he had his working boots on, man. He was feeling it. He was feeling great. And we actually won the tag team championships that night. So first ever NeoPro tag team champions. If it lasts 5 or 50 more years, the first tag team champions will be me in the franchise, and that will
That's rad.
never be lost.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Shane's another great one. They brought Shane in that Dropkick Diabetes. He spent the entire time he walking in the ring and calling his match, telling stories in the back.
Yep, absolutely.
All night.
I love storytellers. I love it. I love guys who do that.
Make time for you. He was never inconvenienced, never gave like the, like your uncle, like the, yeah, okay, buddy, like never that at all. Like he always was very attentive and would be, from all levels, he'd be there to help you out and answer your question.
Yeah, the AIW guys have always spoken very highly of him. Our friend Derek Dillinger, he loves working with Shane Douglas and those guys. Yeah, they had a good.
We had Shane at Toy Hio in October, and he was just sitting there, and he was like getting ready to go. And our one guy I would ask him a question, and she would sit back down and put his stuff back down and be like, all right, so this is how this went. And he would tell the whole big story again. And my buddy sat there for a good hour after Shane was like getting ready to leave and just kept like asking him questions. And he kept telling these like amazing stories. And just, you could tell like Shane was just loving that, like people were like interested in what he had to say about it. And it was really cool. And he's always been just one of those guys that like still to this day is just as cool to have around. So
you've been doing this a while. So you see the indie scene now. Do you think there's a lack of guys who are willing to sit and tell stories? Because I think something I learned just by hanging out with the people we've all hung out with, we've talked to, the older guys, they tell great stories. They have tons of stories. They're always willing to tell them. Do you think there's a lack of that now going into there, like, or maybe a lack of the younger guys asking, "Hey, can you tell me about this?" What do you think where that is?
I was going to say, and I try to absolutely not wear the hat of that grizzled old guy. I think I'm actually a grizzled old guy, where I'm just like the old guy happy to be there now. But like I was on a show where I was working with Ricky Morton, and Bobby Fulton was on the show too. Bobby Fulton has his own shit going on as he's running his independent now. That we'll ignore that for now. But two of the best tag team wrestlers of all time in this. I mean, the matches that Fantastics have, which preface all this, the Midnight Express is the greatest tag team that ever lived, and you're not going to convince me otherwise. But their matches, they're actually in-ring stuff, I think, with the Fantastics might have been better than the matches they have with the Rock and Roll. But anyway, Ricky's sitting there on a chair and Bobby's sitting there on a chair, and they're just bullshitting, and all these other dudes are in the locker room on their phones, and I'm like, well, that's fucking stupid. Like, yeah. And I just asked them, I was like, guys, like, I don't want to intrude. They're going to sit up and pull a chair. And Len's like, brother, get on in here. And Ricky's telling stories, man. And like, and they're just telling old school stories. And then I'd ask with just a little bit of knowledge I knew, be like, oh, okay, Bobby, that's when you guys came in from World Class. No, man, that's when we came in from Memphis. Oh, okay. Like, they're here. Like, this is, like they want to tell stories.
Yeah.
Part of it, if they let you be a part of it. I can't understand why you wouldn't. That's why, not necessarily Ricky Morton and Bobby Fulton, but like these guys are the reason why we're here. Like the guys, that's somebody that you watch, that you enjoy, that you love, is the reason why we decided to get into this. So why would you not take a minute?
Yeah,
sit there and talk shop with them is beyond me. Yeah, and then again, that's not to get into the grumpy old guy sort of thing, but my favorite thing to do at the shows is to catch up and tell stories.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're the same stories. Sometimes they're new stories with new people as you become better friends with guys that have had, long careers elsewhere and you just haven't crossed paths much. I wrestled Vance Desmond a couple months ago, and we just talked about how have we never been on a show together? And like, he's like, yeah, did you work here? And I was like, yeah, I worked there in like 04, 05. He's like, obviously I was there in 06, 07. Okay, well then I went to Pittsburgh in about 2015. Oh, see, I left there in 13, 14. But now we're telling stories about guys we know mutually. And I don't know, that's the best part, being just enjoying this brotherhood that we have.
Yeah.
Why
that's
not?
Why we love doing. That's why we love doing this. I love listening to stories. And some people joke with me. They mess with me about checking Google and I said, I don't want to go to Google. I want to hear the stories, and I want to hear these things come out of people's mouths. I understand it better. Like listening to, I took Sabu out. He told his stories one day, and that's a whole nother story, but he told his stories about Japan and about his uncle and about Andre the Giant, and Fonzie was with us, and Fonzie will tell stories all night. And like, It's wild. I think we miss some of these guys. There just aren't enough. I don't know if the mentality is there to like either listen to the stories or make your own so that you can tell them one day. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And then you got stories to tell about other people too. And it's, you never know who you're going to meet in these locker rooms. You never know who the next big star is going to be. So, you might have a road story with a very young XYZ guy that, you can tell stories later. I mean, he doesn't mind me saying this because it's true. Dom Guarini used to set up rings at those mule shows that me and JHawk were talking about. And I think I'm maybe 7 years older or so than Dom, but so I'd be 20, he'd be 13. But I still would always just take a minute to talk about what was happening in Ring of Honor and what CM Punk was doing because and not because I thought one day this kid's going to train his ass off and be one of the best wrestlers in the world, and it'd be nice. I should be nice to him now. No, it's just don't be a dickhead. Talk to this young kid that wants to talk wrestling with you. We're all here because we love it. So talk wrestling, man. Whatever it is. Again, whatever CM Punk was doing in Ring of Honor, or what would happen on TNA last week, or who we'd want to see, jump to the Fed. I would have those conversations with Dom as he'd be setting up the ring, and he was appreciative of it. He told me later, you were really cool to me the entire time. Talk to the guys, talk to everybody, and talk to anybody who wants to talk to you.
Yeah, and you never know.
Wilbur, I know you have JHawk, dirty secrets on JHawk to get him canceled. So let's hear them. Let's get JHawk canceled on the show today.
Get JHawk Well, have you seen his ref work? That should be first and foremost.
Oh shit!
Listen, he's a Hall of Fame referee.
He's a Hall of Fame, and
there's a plaque right here to prove it.
That's right. There it is.
It says honor roll, but that means it's a roll of toilet paper because he's shitty.
Yeah. No,
Jake Clement kicking in the ring of kicking in the honor roll at Real Action Pro Wrestling.
Don't have anything nice to say. I won't say anything at all.
Oh my God.
But no, I don't have anything to get JHawk canceled. In the 22 years of locker rooms and debauchery that I may or may not have been a part of sometimes, JHawk is on the lower tier of guys to get canceled. I do have heat with him, however, though. I shared a picture. It's my profile picture on my Wilbur Whitlock page on Facebook of a steel cage match. It was a War Games match where Sean Blaze is throwing me into the cage and I'm eating it with every last bit of my body. And there's JHawk on the floor, as stoic as could be, just not giving a fuck. And I'm like, thanks a lot, JHawk.
To be impartial, dude. I can't be like, shit.
It's not your fault, Wilbur. It's because it was Sean Blaze. That's why he just.
Then you should have shown anger for Sean Blaze hurting me then. No. Stoic as could be, not selling a goddamn thing as I'm eating the cage with every last bit of my body.
I'm supposed to be fucking impartial. I can't be like, God damn it, Wilbur, what the fuck you doing?
I heard an old lady punched him once at a show, so it happens. And he was when he does his manager thing. So
I'm sure he had that come.
Oh, definitely.
He probably tried to proposition that old lady.
I was going to say, he let her on. He definitely did.
No, I almost got fucking fired from that company because of that old lady. She finally got down and I went, fuck, under my breath and was loud enough that the promoter heard it.
Oh, you weren't allowed to curse, right?
No, you weren't allowed to do that. You weren't allowed to curse, and the F-bomb was supposed to be automatically getting fired. Everybody else in the locker room went, yeah, if security would have been doing their job, he wouldn't have dropped that F-bomb. You can't fire him for that. But
there you go.
Ironically, the entire crowd leaves during intermission to go to the bar, and most of that crowd comes from a bar to go to a bar after the show, and it's the one guy that gets over the most at that crowd is supposed to be a high flyer, but they don't do high flying in that company.
So Wilbur, who's your guy right now that you keep your eye on as far as the indies go? Who do you like?
Well, as far as guys that we have now in NeoPro, guys that I want to see the next level. Well, look, I mean, this is no secret at all. You guys mentioned Derek Dillinger earlier, and Derek is another guy that when we were in a company called Mid Ohio Wrestling, he was maybe a year or two in, and our good buddy, I'm going to break the fourth wall here. Tom Dunn is Mr. D, motherfuckers.
He had no idea. What do you mean?
Oh, he's going to be pissed at us now. Shit.
Because I listened to your entire pod when he was on it. He didn't put me over once. So
shit.
This is that one. But Dunn was there managing, managed a lot of guys. He managed Patrick Hayes for a while, and he managed me. And then he was, he's a fan of Derek's as well. So he brought him in to Mid Ohio, and immediately he got to come in and work with me, and we were tagging. And it's one of those things where a little bit of a trope or whatever, where you're the heavyweight champion in that indie that draws 150 people, like, oh, big deal. But like, if you're that young guy getting your first couple matches on the show, like, well, no, it is a big deal to them. Like, anytime you're getting started with a promotion, you're like, yeah, well, you want to be the top guy here. Then, yeah, you hope to be a top guy in a bigger promotion and bigger and bigger. But, so what it was when we were drawing this 150, 200 people, and I was the heavyweight champ and everything. So, like, getting to work with Derek, I would, instead of, again, why be a dick? Like, I don't understand that mentality that guys have. So it was very much let's work together. Here's some ideas he had, and I'd let him contribute his ideas. And as you know, Derek and what he's emerged into, that dude is full of ideas all the fucking time. So he would implement some of his stuff, and like I would, maybe run it through my veteran filter or whatever. And we went out and we had just an awesome gimmick. We were doing we're not tag team partners, we're best friends gimmick before KO and Jericho were doing it, where we would just always give the obnoxious hugs like after promos. And then like Dunn, this 6'4" guy with a mask and a blazer, was also our best friend. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it was fun as fuck. Like, we just would go out of our way to kind of pop ourselves, but at the same time having fun out there, but also just showing ass for the baby faces the entire time, and got a really good reaction. And again, that's a blip on Derek's career, but I'm really happy that I had at least a little bit of a hand in helping him. And it wasn't hard to see that dude was going to be successful. And so I'm an advocate for him day in, day out. As you guys probably seen at the last NeoPro show, we are in the works of building up a really big match for him and Katie in the production at NeoPro. So I'm really looking forward to that. Another guy that, man, just, again, kid's putting in the work himself. I got to work with him when he was getting started, but Christian Napier, I think Christian Napier is a dude. I really do. I think that kid has...
That's Casey Carrington III, right? That was his...
Christian Napier now.
Right.
Where I told him he took a big chance on himself, that he had sort of that obnoxious character, and he was a young kid, and he looks like Justin Bieber, looks like a kid that you just want to punch, and that's like, that works, that could get over. And he said, no, not doing that. Goes under his real name, goes out there, wants to be the character he wants to be. And like, when I talked to him about it, it's like, you're gonna have to work your ass off to get that over. Like, yeah, you're this young, kind of obnoxious looking kid, and I see it, you're a hell of a fucking talent in the ring, you can cut a great promo, but like, it's going to take a while for this crowd to believe in you as somebody serious, as somebody who's a bad motherfucker. If you can get them to buy it, like, it's a long road ahead, but believe in yourself, man, and believe in the work you're putting in. And I've been a huge fan of his. He was a kid that I wanted in NeoPro from day one. I was like, get this kid in here. This kid has something. And that's just a couple. I mean, there's so many young guys at NeoPro. Don Tavio is a kid that I trained with his dad. So that kind of fucks with your head a little bit.
Wow.
Yeah, he was a toddler while I was training with his dad, who obviously is a decent bit older than me. But, he basically was training, and he didn't have the best training off the rip. But he would tell me, he's like, dude, I was a little kid watching you, and you were my favorite. It's like, well, fuck, man. Like, and then he took an attitude and kind of turned it all around, humbled himself, and was just like, just help me, man. If I ask you questions, will you help me? Will you be honest? Yeah, man. Absolutely. And so, he's improved by leaps and bounds, and he still has a lot of room to grow, and he knows that, and I tell him that. But that's just one of those things that you put into perspective. Like, yeah, we're independent wrestlers, and sometimes we're wrestling in front of 2,000 people, and sometimes we're wrestling in front of 20 people. But if you're somebody to a 4-year-old kid that day, man, like, that might mean something somewhere down the road, And when you talk about a Dom Greeny setting up the ring, you talk about a young Derek Dillinger at Mid Ohio, or you talk about a Don Tavio, who was literally a toddler while his dad was training with me, and I was like his favorite. Well, besides his dad, of course. But I was his favorite dude. Like, shit, man. Like, what we do matters. And I think that always needs to be put in perspective.
Butters, you want to do your questions that you asked before we go with entering and with all those in-ring questions?
Oh yeah, I got them here.
All right.
What is the worst ring name you've ever heard?
Yes, this will be good.
Let's
Come
bury
on.
let's bury somebody.
The first one that comes to my name is Rock Lobster. and he came out with a lobster mask, and he the guy who played it kayfabed it pretty well, and he turned into being a pretty damn good worker, and he's a really, really great guy. So I won't say it on here. But when I seen Rock Lobster coming out with the lobster mask, and I was like, what the fuck is this?
With Rock Lobster from the B-52 acting fucking theme song, no less.
What else could it be? What else could it be at that point?
Yeah, he would wrestle under the mat in like the opening match and referee the rest of the show, and people actually did not know the same guy.
Yeah.
He did really well kayfabe in that.
Guy until like 3 years ago, I had no idea. So yeah, Rock Lobster.
What is the weirdest place that you've wrestled?
Besides the Shamrock,
I know you've got something weirder than a Shamrock. We all do.
well, let me think. We all do.
I refereed in a freaking movie theater.
We've done theater shows, but those were kind of fun.
No, those were fun, but it's still weird.
Yeah, man, oh man. And it's not weird. And again, this is one of those things that will get made fun of quite a bit. But man, we wrestled in a lot of parking lots. When with MCW, we actually had a Mexican restaurant that was our sponsored after party, and it was right on State Street, which is the main road that goes through Alliance, Ohio. And we set up shop right there in the fucking parking lot, and like there was almost so many fucking wrecks because again, it's a 35-mile-per-hour thing, and there's just a wrestling ring probably 20 feet from the road. So like, yeah, that's going to draw attention. And they had an outdoor patio, and they had to kind of tarp it off with like a black tarp. And that was our dressing room. And it was absolutely like the middle of August. And so we were absolutely ready to die changing in this quote unquote locker room, this black death tarp haven side patio. The Shamrock is up there, man. The Shamrock
up there. Yeah.
I'll tell you that though.
Yeah. Parking lots have definitely happened with me. We were in the middle of a park. They had something going on in the park, and they put us like next to everything else in the park. And then it started raining in the second match, and they still tried to finish the show in the freaking rain until on a vinyl canvas, no less. We finally gave them just use the ring I could slip and fly for like an hour.
I'll tell you this. So not the weirdest place, but there's a story with the rain. Kim Tam Park OCW runs their summer shows there, and we were trying desperately to get through this rain. Like it was raining. We kind of tarped the ring. It stopped enough to start the show, and then it started pouring again. And of course, this night was a one-night tournament, which I had the worst job on the show of working all three matches, but then losing the finals. There's nothing worse than losing in the finals of a tournament because you're working the whole night. The ring is completely soaked. I can't get changed, so I got my literally water in my boots the whole night. And I worked with Gino DiCapo in the second round, and there's just a full-on puddle in the middle of the ring. And we both saw it at the same fucking time. Like he had me in the corner. He's like, reverse, beel me in the puddle. So boom, of course I give him the big beel, big splash in the puddle, and then I have him get over on me, and we both said at the same time. I was like, drown me in that fucking puddle. So I'm getting drowned in the fucking middle of the kicking my feet and everything. And of course, nobody will ever see it. They couldn't have any video equipment because it was a monsoon. But yeah, I mean, it was atrocious. It was the worst afternoon of wrestling you'd ever see in your life. But we had fun.
Waffle House, Sheetz, or Wawa?
Okay, so I never really got to make it out east too often. So Wawa I've only passed through. It's Sheetz for convenience, but Waffle House for the best food, and it's not even close.
Okay. You're the first Waffle House, so.
Oh, listen, Killer Chris Cole would murder me if I said anything else besides the Waffle House and the cheese eggs at the Waffle House. And we grew up more on Waffle House. The Sheetz came out this way, probably like the early 2010s. So more of those road was the Waffle Houses. Denny's too, which I don't have a bad word to say about Denny's. This was $2.99 Grand Slam breakfast era, which was about all the money you had left working the shows back in 2003, 2004. So I'll put over Denny's while I'm at it.
Right, what's the hash brown order at Waffle House?
It's with diced. I like the stupid salsa for whatever reason. I get the salsa, the cheese, and the ham usually, but I can't remember what it's all called. Diced, sliced, and whatever, but smothered. but they're awesome. And now Waffle House, that's fucking economy. We're not talking politics on here, but when your breakfast at the Waffle House costs you $20, man, it's just not the America I signed up for.
It's that 50-cent per egg surcharge. That's the problem.
That's why I eat biscuits and gravy. Simple. I don't need any eggs. Just throw biscuits and the heaviest gravy with sausage you can right on top of it. I'm good to go.
Well, you always need the eggs at the Waffle House, man. It's just, I don't know. It's a sad day. It's a sad day.
What?
I gotta find a Buc-ee's, by the way. I'm going to Florida in April with my daughter, so I'm hoping on our drive from South Jersey to North Jersey, we go to Buc-ee's.
There you go.
Yeah.
Craziest fan interaction. It's my final question.
I got stabbed by a kid one time. I got stabbed with a
Holy shit.
Tell me all about this. All right.
This was at a mule show. There were no guardrails, and I don't remember what I did, but I did something very, very heelish. And I'm going to the back, walking to the back, and like there's no guardrails to separate them, but there's these three kids, and they're like, one's kind of like on one side, me and two are on the other, and the two are chirping, and that's fine. And I'm chirping back at them, you suck, yeah, your mom sucks, just I'm chirping back, and I see this third kid, and this kid has that 1,000-mile stare, man, like where I'm like, that kid's gonna be on the news someday. I could just tell. But like, so I'm going to and as soon as I'm gonna walk through the curtain, I feel it. I'm like, what the fuck? And I look, and I'm bleeding just a little bit, and I got a big dab of blue on the back of my tricep. And there's this kid running away with a pen, just sprinting through. This kid shanked me in the arm with a blue ballpoint pen. I was like, holy shit. That's my favorite story. I almost started a riot in Mansfield one time. Because Shasta got really into Bubba Ray Dudley, like 98 Bubba Ray Dudley for a grip. And remember the infamous Heatwave promos that Bubba would cut, and your mother teaches you to suck cock because she's a whore, like those promos. So he got really into Bubba. And we were doing these bar shows out in Mansfield, and the match I had like the previous month, it wasn't great. And he kind of like, we're riding up to the show, and he's just like, he's got this deep Georgia accent. That match you had last month, that was shit. We need to get you over. We need to get you to be a heel out there. And I was like, all right, yeah, like, what are you thinking? He's like, did you ever see Bubba Ray Dudley in ECW? And I was like, yeah. He's like, that's what I want tonight. I want full-on Bubba from you. And like, that's not really my character. Like, I'm kind of, I can be a smart-ass dickhead, but I'm not like brutally mean, like at any point in time. But hey, the promoter's asking me to do it. I'm going to do it. So I get on the microphone, mind you, it's a bar show, and I'm doing the whole thing. I'm doing the, your girl, that's your girl. She'll be sucking my cock in the parking lot later, pal. And like ECW Heat, and like I'm like, we're gonna get kicked out of here. And I see Shasta, he's doing commentary from like the back of the room, and he's moving his fingers like, keep going, keep going. So I keep going, and I kind of do I know where I come from, and I know where you come from. I know none of you punk motherfuckers will ever have the guts to step in the ring with me. So I'm going to come out there onto the floor with you. I'm going to come right to the streets with you trash. And I'd walk down the aisle, and I was like, I pointed to these dudes that are drinking, and I'm 21 maybe. I don't even know if I was 21 yet. And I'm pointing to it. I was like, and I'll whoop your ass, and I'll whoop your ass, and I'll whoop your ass. And as I walk by this one dude, he's a pretty big dude, kind of chest bumps me in the back. And I'm like, shit is on now. And I said, I'm like, get on the microphone. You going to do something, motherfucker? And he's chirping. I was like, nah, you don't deserve this. You don't even deserve my spit. And I spit on him.
Oh, Lord.
Okay. Now I get in there, and I know it's gone too. Now I get in the ring. He chases me in the ring. The security guys kind of grab a hold of him, and I just go into fight mode. So I kind of Orton punt this dude in the head. And now we're definitely getting kicked out of here, right? So I'm like, got this oh shit feeling in my gut, and I look over at Shasta, who's back at the commentary, and he is smiling and laughing his ass off, doing the fingers. Keep going. That's right, you fat motherfucker. You better drink another 6 of Courage before you decide to fuck with me again. And that goes for any last one of you. And then they finally play the guy who was wrestling, Scotty Saber, who was an OVW late run WCW guy. They finally play his music. And this guy gets a Road Warriors pop. And I was like, well, I guess it worked.
Oh, my God.
Hell yeah.
I'll tell one story. This is not my story, and I forget who told it to me. Somebody told me that at Cauliflower Alley one year. But a guy managing at a show, and he doing the same kind of thing, not that hardcore with it, but he, pick on people in the crowd. And he sees a woman holding a infant in the front row and go, that's what I like to see, a mother coming out with their kid. And I'm going to make it my mission in life to find out the name of that baby's real daddy. And this lady got pissed and like trying to punch him with the baby in one arm, punching him with the other arm. Turns out that the woman was dating the referee and it was not the baby's daddy.
Oh, Lord.
You bring a baby to the show, you're fair game.
So you were around, like Pedro said, that you guys have been around through a lot. Do you have any stories of Chandler Biggins that you can tell?
Yeah, man. So I accidentally big league Thorne one time because like Chandler was such a big personality, and like Thorne just looks like a dude, and I know him now, and I like John a lot, but like I've seen they had like a good house, and like I walked up to Chandler and I was like, man, great house last night. We're proud of you. Yeah, awesome, man. Like great scene. And I just walked. I was double booked. I didn't have to go to a show, but I walked right past Thorne, and that was a dumb move. But yeah, Chandler was cool as shit. These me and Hayes talk about these shows all the time, JHawk, these kind of forgotten UWC shows at the Eagles in Cuyahoga Falls that, for whatever reason, had the most like loaded roster. And like the 2000 and what was that? Maybe like was that 2007-ish? Am I right about that?
Something like that. I was not going as often at that point, but yeah, I think I'm about right.
So AIW was kind of just getting their gears going, and that's when Chandler would come down and he would actually manage Hayes and the Duke doing the Alpha Beta Duke thing, and he was just a fucking riot the whole time. But yeah, we always talk about the shows because, you know, EC3 was there, Ray Rowe was there, and then like the Pittsburgh guys like Gory and Shima, you know, DJZ, they were there, and then like, you know, me and like Robbie Starr, like some of the better guys from like call it down south, I guess, we would be there. J-Rock would be on the show, Mick Chesney would be on the show. Hayes would be on the show, and like we had this like low like all-star locker room from like the tri-state with, you know, 50 people in this little Eagles in Cuyahoga Falls. But yeah, Chandler, man. Chandler was one of those guys that he never gave a fuck. And then he even told me, kind of apologizing after the fact, that he's like I was at I think it was April Ambush, if I'm not mistaken, but he's like, I was at a Civic Center show, Wilbur, and I talked so much shit about you. I was like, I fucking heard you. I didn't know it was then, but I know you now. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. He's like, I did it to everybody. I was like, I know. Yeah. And I was like, to be absolutely fair, you did it to everybody. You were an equal opportunist shit talker when he was attending those shows. So, yeah, awesome. And I wish I got to know Chandler even better, but it was every time I interacted with him, man, we don't, again, do this stuff that we're doing now, talk old wrestling, talk wrestling magazines, just because, you know, we're pretty much the same age, and kids growing up in that era of wrestling, like, you know, there's some guys that grew up that love Stone Cold in the NWO, and that's fine, and yeah, they got in when wrestling was hot. But then like the kids like me and Chandler, you know, would talk about the fucking Hammer Jammer and the Greg the Hammer Valentine's match. and that's when you see have that connection, because that's not everybody, you know, that loves wrestling as much as this collective group I'm talking to now, and as much as Chandler did.
Yeah. I remember you and I at a Mid-Ohio show getting into a debate on whether J.J. Dillon was a good manager or not. We agreed wholeheartedly on that.
Was he? No.
Okay.
J.J. was fine.
Fine tops. He's fine. No.
I don't know. He's the only thing you need to remember was his face on the Four Horsemen poster. That was it. You know, those mangled fingers.
I will say that in defense of your argument, Wilbur, J.J. Dillon was a mediocre promo for a top heel manager.
He was a mediocre promo with four incredible promos with four guys that are bad.
Yeah, but as far as actual ringside work, he was fantastic.
He's in the B tier. He's definitely not the A tier.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not putting him up there with Cornette or Heenan or Heyman, but I'm putting him just a knock below that.
I'll put him above Paul Jones, #1. I'll give you that.
I think you and I are the only two that get that reference. maybe Pedro gets it, but
Pedro would get it. He'll understand.
Well, we are coming up to time. If you boys have any more questions, but Wilbur, I'd love to have you back on. I want to do more. I want to talk more old wrestling with you as well. I think
I love talking old wrestling. I love telling stories, and
yes,
you know, and I just want to thank you guys, you know, for the work you guys are putting in, man. Like, this is something you don't have to do. You don't, but you guys are enjoying putting this podcast together, giving that IW guide and giving opportunities, to, hey, look, a Mikey, I'd love to tell you 100% that Mikey would he'd be at NeoPro anyway. We got a lot of really good guys on that roster, and so it could be easy to get lost in the shuffle. So having that opportunity to let's get that title out there. That's something that you guys are happy to help sponsor and help get guys opportunities on shows. We'll reciprocate by trying to get that title. The title had the main event and a great match on Saturday night. And really happy for a guy like Mikey, who's riding a hell of a win streak right now. And, the more that kid is on our shows, enjoy AIW or any shows, the better, because he's a hell of a talent and a hell of a great kid. Y'all bringing in Gary J. I was familiar with Gary J. from, 10 plus years ago. And I was like, that dude is fucking great. Mm-hmm. And here he was live and in color in Canton, and they tore the house down. They really did. And that was an opportunity that probably wouldn't have been afforded if not for what you guys are doing. So, from me to you, thank you. And,
thanks.
Had your path ever crossed with Gary J before that?
Only on one show before. And I've seen his match there, and he chopped like a motherfucker back then too. But I'd seen his work on, in AIW and stuff like that as well. So great talent. But man, I'm just, thank you for having me on. I'm just enjoying this ride. I kind of made it a little clip earlier, but kind of want to point out, I think I've gotten past the grizzled old guy stage where, there's some wrestling out there that I'm not a fan of. There's some things in the independents that I don't particularly care for. And, a few years ago, I'd probably kind of raise a stink about it. But today, I don't know, man. If you're having fun, if you're out there, you're having fun, you're entertaining people, and you're not hurting anybody, and you're trying to get better, then go have your fun. But man, I love being a happy uncle on the wrestling shows these days, and I love seeing these young guys and taking an opportunity to talk to these young guys and helping them get better, and helping provide good wrestling. Whether it's with whatever I have left in my body or definitely with what I have in my mind and my experience, I want to keep contributing going forward, particularly with NeoPro, but, OCW and RSW and just anywhere I go with, if I get back down to VCW with the Beastman in West Virginia, I'm really, really enjoying this run of my career of just being the elder statesman in most locker rooms and helping contribute any way I can.
I think we should talk about it real quick, though. You did say that 2025 basically going to be your last year in ring.
Yeah, and that was before I even got hurt. I just knew, and this is what I love about the NeoPro locker room, man. You just take one look around, and everybody in there has been or is a top guy in another promotion somewhere. So you can't take a night off and hope to have your spot, because these are all really, really good, hungry talents, and I'm included in that locker room. And as I look around, man, I feel like I probably have contributed about as much as I can physically. I'm older, I'm slower. I see these guys. I'm in the ring with some of these guys, and man, I could have kept up with you 10 years ago. Today, it's just don't move as fast as I used to. And then I know I can still have the capabilities of putting on good matches. I know the way my brain works. I know the way I can tell stories. I know all that, but the crowd deserves that, and they deserve top-notch action. And, I think I have a pretty good spot on any card that I'm on. So, hey, there's an opportunity for somebody else to come in and take that spot. And I'd like to go out with a bang, have some fun, wrestle some guys that never wrestled before, wrestle some towns that never wrestled before, have a lot of fun as we close out 2025, and then contribute everything I can behind the scenes. And you better believe I'll still be there at the bar, though, with the boys after the show.
I was going to say, if you are available next Monday, we should have our part 2 and keep going, because I feel like there's a lot that we didn't even cover, and we've been going for quite a while tonight. So
I was trying to take it home for you, but yeah, we can elaborate further on pretty much everything, right? So
yeah, I feel like there's a lot to talk about with current stuff that you're doing, including stuff you're doing backstage at NeoPro. So I feel like this is part 1, and we'll have a ton. I'll even reach out and get some fan questions, and we'll do part 2 and keep rolling with this, because I'm enjoying what we're talking about. So
that sounds like a blast, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity, and I'm already looking forward to it, boys.
Hell yeah.
So you got any plugs you want to do before you go tonight?
But yeah, absolutely, man. OCW will be in Springfield Township, Akron, Ohio. That will be not this Saturday, but next Saturday. And I'm bad with my dates. That's the 29th. Yes, March 29th. And that's OCW Battle Lines. Unfortunately, again, still on the mend with this injured leg. I got all restrictions lifted to start walking as much as I can, but running, jumping, bumping, it's going to be a few weeks yet, but I'm working on it. And then, man, NeoPro Triple Extreme at the Diamond Royale in Canton. It is a gentleman's club. It is an adult club. So,
yeah,
just get that out there but that is on April 12th.
Mm-hmm.
And that is my goal. That is my goal, to at least get into a spot where I can at least throw some punches and take a bump, because as I mentioned, that building is the building I had my very first match in February of 2003. So it's a full circle moment for me. So we already have a few matches announced there. Jimmy Shane versus the Beastman, Ashton Day versus Brandon Day. We have Angel Metro making her return with Nurse Mika and Kenzie Page from NWA, who's awesome. Or might be Kylie Page. Shit, I should have looked. I think it's Kylie Page.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, we got something cooking too. I was talking to Jason today about what weapons can I bring, what's allowed. He said no doors, but tables, garbage cans, guitars, chairs, you name it.
Why no doors?
He hates doors.
He does. He's weird.
I can buy it if you're saying, why would you have doors just hanging under the ring? I can get the logic there. But if you're already saying it's a fucking triple extreme show, well, yeah, we got doors because they're $5 at the restore, and we bought them. We want to see them.
Right.
That's why they're here.
Yeah, say fans brought them. They put something on them. That's what they're there for. Like, yeah, okay, they're not under the ring. I get, like, we don't store things under the ring. Okay. But, like, there's certain weapons. Like, I'm going to go out and try to find a guitar that we can use because somebody has to do the New Jack guitar spot. I've had my guys already say that there's a balcony there, and they were talking about doing something off that. And I was like, I don't feel comfortable with that.
They wouldn't be the first.
So I got my guys are going crazy with ideas. Like, I'm trying to rein them in, and they're wanting to do triple extreme. They want to do it justice. So I'm trying to I'm like, I'll get you some chairs and like a garbage can. Like, can you at least work with that? Like, let's not go light tubes and barbed wire and whatever else.
Glass doesn't work. Glass is always a shoot, man. So that's why you got to be careful with light.
Yeah, I'm not a fan myself. Like, when I tell these guys, like, I don't want to be responsible for something happening to you.
Something's probably going to happen to somebody. It is triple extreme. It's a homecoming of sorts, and we're really, really excited about it. And let's talk about it next week, man.
Yeah. We'll talk about your injury, and we'll talk about everything next week, and we'll get more in depth. So,
yep.
Oh yeah.
You follow me on Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and Blue Sky, Ref JHawk. Instagram on the rare occasion, come on that, JHawk1539. This Saturday, on the 22nd, Real Action Pro Wrestling presents the, I believe, third annual Eli Thomas Memorial Tag Team Tournament. It might be the fourth, but the annual Eli Thomas Memorial Tag Team Tournament is Saturday, 6 p.m. bell time at the Ohio Urban Renaissance Center in Youngstown, Ohio. A one-night tag team tournament, plus New York Castro defending the RIPW Championship against RJ Jonesy. Come check that out.
Please go. Eli was one of the absolute nicest, sweetest guys I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. That's one worth going to for anybody who's in the area, just to at least show your support to a fellow toy guy, Butters. Like, he was
yep,
absolutely, and again, just
him and my boss started Toy Hio together, so I know how much he meant to everybody.
Sweetheart of a human being.
I don't have anything this week. Charlie_Butters. Send me questions to ask Wilbur on next week's episode. That includes you, Tom Dunn, and Pedro, who I know listen every single week. So I'm sure you guys will give me some good questions to ask and for some good stories. So that's all I got.
All right, you can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at JGold12. Please listen, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Oh, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to us. I said listen twice. And our Twitter handle, IWGuide1, Blue Sky IW Guide, and patreon.com/IW Guide. Don't forget about the merch store over at Brainbuster Tees and Gorilla Press Apparel. Use code IWGP24 at checkout. When you buy 2 or more items, you get $20 off your entire order. Listen to our podcast, friends. We are part of the Main Event Wrestling Network. That's the Wrestling Junkies on the Mark Wrestling Podcast. And my new show, shameless plug, NXT Night Shift, every Tuesday night, live at 10:15 on YouTube. You get to see my stupid face. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow night, I have some things cooking. Kyle has allowed me to make some things happen. So join the carnival. Come on in and see what's going on. At Odds with Wrestling, the card is going to change. The Super Fantastic Podcast, Marks with Mikes. Check out our other friends, Time Capsule Toys, Toy Hio, Rubber City Toys, NeoPro Wrestling, and Pally's Beef Jerky from our very own buddy Kaplan. That's all I got for this week.
Read those off like a pro, kid.
Been doing it a long time at this
for
point.
what, 3 years now?
3 years.
Something like that.
Life's short. Watch more indie wrestling.
Don't forget to review and subscribe wherever you listen to us. Find us online at Facebook and Instagram at the Indie Wrestling Guide. And on X or Twitter at IWGuide1.